deep where secrets lie. The truth awaits, though time runs by. An answer cries in the night, seeking justice, shining bright. Stories and old and whispers fade, a quest for truth that must be made through endless trails and winding roads. Justice should never go cold. Justice should never go cold. Through the years this fire we hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Justice should never go cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Oh. In every heart and never cold. It through the years it's found. Oh. In every heart and every soul. Justice should never go. All of mysteries haunt the past, but truth will rise and light will last through dedication. Bold and strong, we seek the answers all along. Justice should never go cold. Through the years this fire we hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Justice should never go cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Cold. We hold in every heart and every soul. Justice should never go cold. Cold.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see y'all. I hope y'all like that intro. I actually wrote the lyrics to it and had AI put a voice to it. So, couldn't really find a song that I like for this channel that goes with this channel. Now, I will say that AI got some of the words wrong. Some you just can't understand it saying justice. And it's saying just should never go cold. And I'm like, but that was as close as I could get. Let me say hi to some people's. Hey, Flies. Now, tonight's rabbit hole, it's her fault. She sent me this video, and it took me in a rabbit hole that got me looking at genealogy and on Ancestry and everything, and then figured out that my husband's actually kin to this lady. So, it's Flies' fault. Hey, Michelle. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about one of the Appalachia's deadliest. You heard me. And guess what, you all? It's not a man. It's a woman by the name of Permilla. That's how it should be pronounced anyway. Permilla Warren. Now, before she was married, she was Permilla Gambrell, which is where my rabbit hole took me. And that's how I figured out my husband was kin to her. And then it created a bit of a fascination, to be honest with you, because I have lived in this part, and this story is like really, really local to me, obviously. But I have never heard of this and had never heard of the story. And you would think it would be one of those legends that people passed down generation to generation. But this guy actually explains why you don't hear about it. And when I say that it is unique, how some things can change and some things not so much. But I'm going to share my screen, that way I can. Hey, Duchess. Michelle, sorry, not sorry. I'm telling you, y'all, before we even play this, I'm going to say that your county may be on this guy's channel. I mean, you may find out stories that you've never heard before in your life, and then kind of get an insight as to why you haven't, or maybe it might be some you've heard all your life. He has some of the most. I lost a good 2 or 3 days to this guy's channel. Earlier on the other channel, we was talking about ghosts. He had some very good stories about them. Put a 1 in chat if y'all have ever heard about Grandma Moses. Was it Moses? I think it was, yeah. Put a 1 in chat if you've ever heard that saying, Otis, Grandma Moses. Well, he's got a story on her too. And in this version, she's kind of a witch. And I don't mean like a hateful woman. I mean the practicing kind. But his link is in the description to this video, which will take you to his channel. And let me get a fair use banner going here, because I don't want to get struck, because I actually like his channel, and that might tick me off and make me not want to watch it no more. Just being honest. Okay. Now, here we go. Okay. I thought for sure. There we go. Is this it? Yes. Why am I doing that? Okay. Needed to X out that. Okay. Let me know when you all can see my screen, because I've put it full screen up here. Okay, there we go. If you need something to drink, get it now, because, and like I said, when I got to looking into this, she's actually kin to my husband. Her name's Permilla Warren, and before marriage, she was a gambler. Let's get started.
A woman so violent that no.
Okay, put a 1 in chat if you can hear it. I don't want to do a half a stream and nobody hear it.
No man dared to cross her, and no lawman had the guts to bring an end to her reign of terror. This is the true story of Permilla Warren.
What is real funny about this, and it kind of scares me a little bit, is this lady, if you took the hat off her head, resembles my grandma on my dad's side. Is there an echo, Floss?
Of all the ruthless outlaws in American history, perhaps no one was as notorious as the woman who terrorized the mountains of Kentucky in the late 1800s.
Okay, when I muted my mic, did it take the echo away, y'all? It's gone? Okay.
Buckle up for the true story of Permilla Warren. The year is 1880 in Knox County, Kentucky, in a place called Stinking Creek.
Now, Stinking Creek is still called Stinking Creek. And I've heard people say that comments under this video, that ain't the reason it's called Stinking Creek. Well, it's always been the reason I've heard it called Stinking Creek.
Desolate wilderness that was nearly 30 miles removed from the closest town of any size. It was the untamed frontier, completely void of law and order, and it always had been.
Okay? Not much has changed so far. It's still void of law and order.
Many folks had long said that Stinking Creek was a cursed land. The old-timers said that the name originated in the winter of 1779, which was one of the most brutal blizzards in the history of the young country. They say the snow began in late October, and the temperatures plummeted, and for the next 2.5 months, they wouldn't rise again above the freezing mark. Soon, the snow became a blanket of thick ice, and every stream in the mountains was frozen solid. Animals searched in vain for water and for refuge from the bitter cold, but none was to be found. Instead, every head of cattle, deer, and thousands of other wild animals froze solid on the banks of the main water source. By February 1780, the Great Thaw began, and by March, the stench of rotting flesh blew through the mountains non-stop for the next 8 months. Turkey buzzards and scavengers built dens in the mountain bluffs high above and gorged on the putrid flesh of the dead animals for months. The area was so toxic that no man dared to tread there. Even the water was said to be undrinkable for the next several years. And it was for this reason that this cursed land had been called ever since by the name of Stinking Creek. In the ensuing years, the only people who dared to call this godforsaken forest home were the wretched, the wicked, and the lawless. And by the 1880s, it was ruled by outlaws who administered gunpowder and lead to enforce their will. Indeed, the aftermath of the war between the states had left untold thousands of guns in the hands of these mountaineers, and nearly every man was a veteran of the conflict, trained in guerrilla warfare and scorched earth tactics. The preferred method for killing a man was always from the ambush, a lone shot from a hidden vantage point along a dirt path, or a musket ball from the edge of the woods as an unsuspecting man plowed his field, or a bullet fired through a candle-lit window as a man was smoking his evening pipe in front of his fireplace. These men were ruthless, and they had learned from the Civil War that it was always easier to kill a man when he least expected it. Now, for all intents and purposes, Stinking Creek was run by a militia of mountaineers who settled disputes without the aid of judges or juries.
Okay, like I said, we're going to see how things have changed, and a lot of that still goes on in that area. Now, I don't want to make this sound like everybody that lives up Stinking Creek are lawless and just outlaws. They're not, but you do hear of quite a bit going on Stinking Creek, and a lot of them people you just don't mess with.
And the arrival of any outsider was always met with suspicion, and it was common for a foreigner to have to carefully state his business in Stinking Creek, while a local pointed a double-barrel 12-gauge shotgun into a stranger's face. One of the most feared families in Stinking Creek was the Mills clan, led by 3 of the roughest scallywags to ever put on a pair of boots. They terrorized any and all families in the area, stole hogs and horses, and folks seemed to have a habit of just flat out disappearing anytime they crossed the Mills boys. But don't be mistaken, my friend. The leader of the Mills family was none other than Permilla Warren. That's right, a woman. Now, Permilla wasn't your typical lady. Far from it. She was a giant in size, standing 6'6", and was known as a terror in this section. She possessed an explosive temper and an oily tongue, and thought nothing of beating a man senseless with her own 2 fists. And when push came to shove, she was quick to draw her 2 Colt pistols that were concealed underneath her dress. Once, during a poker game, she had demanded that a man turn over his last plug of tobacco to her, since she had already taken all his money. And when the fellow politely declined to oblige the lady, she promptly took to pistol whipping him and another man who came to his aid, beating the hell out of both of them as they ran out of the bar and into the street. Upon seeing that neither man was willing to go toe-to-toe with her, she shot both of them in the backs as they ran, just for being cowards. And then...
Okay. This surprises me because of the time period that it is. So I have to wonder, was a lot of the fear from her because of who she hung around with? I think that might just be it. So it says she hangs around with the Mills clan, and she's actually married. And at one point, I think it says that her husband's too scared to even divorce her. But this right here is pretty cold, that you're going to kill somebody and then still chew their backer.
She proceeded to remove that fella's last bit of tobacco from his front pocket and coolly went back to playing cards in the saloon. Now, the truth is, Permilla was a married woman, but she lived where and with whom she pleased. And one of Permilla's men was none other than Bryce Mills. And the Mills clan were her personal army who had carried out countless killings on her behalf. And locals, they kept their mouths shut and looked the other way when it came to Permilla and her part-time man, or their 10-year-old boy that the two had brought into this world out of wedlock. And so did Permilla's husband, and he was too scared to even divorce her. Simply put, Permilla Warren was the one woman who could put any man who dared to cross her in a pine box.
Give someone you love the gift of old-fashioned storytelling today. Click the link below to order your copy of the Appalachian Story.
Yet, with the county seat of Barberville being nearly 30 miles away, no lawman dared to stand up to this mountain woman. And so was the order of things in the mountain wilds of Stinking Creek, Kentucky. And by 1886...
Let's be honest, though. The law being afraid of some people hasn't really changed very much. Just saying. We know how the popo runs around here. I'm more dissatisfied with Kentucky State Police, but...
The outside world began to slowly creep in on this haven for outlaws. The mighty Iron Horse had cut a path through the Kentucky mountains, and soon its trails would bring in...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Timber and coal barons, looking to extract all of the natural resources that would help build and fuel America's northern cities. And for the first time, foreigners began to appear armed with cross saws and newfangled notions about
Did that fix it?
settling down and carving out their own slice of heaven in these picturesque mountains. But you see, hillbillies have always been reluctant to change, and quite frankly, they saw any encroachment on their ways of living as an infringement on their God-given liberties of living wild and free. It was during the spring of 1886 that a young, growing family with the last name of Poe moved into this mountain hamlet. And like so many others, William Poe had followed the trains into the mountains and took his first paying job as a lumberjack By all accounts, William was an honest man, leading a God-fearing family, trying to build a future for his wife and his kids. They were the type of folks who would lend a helping hand for anyone in need. In fact, the couple was also raising an orphan girl, in addition to their 5 young children. And to help his wife out, one of the first things William did with his first paycheck in Stinking Creek was to hire a live-in nanny to help tend to those pesky, monotonous house.
Hello, CLK Creations. Hey, Chatty. Good to see y'all. We're talking about one of my husband's relatives I figured out, but her name's Permilla Warren. She was a gambler before she got married, but she ain't one of the best humans. Let's just say that. She don't deserve no award or anything like that, because what she does is actually horrible.
So chores. Now, things had been going smoothly enough for the Poe family, but there was that one strange incident that occurred the day Mr. Poe took possession of his newly rented house. You see, as he was moving his things into the 2-roomed log cabin, none other than Permilla Warren showed up on the scene and scolded her brother for renting the place out to foreigners such as the Poes. Her brother insisted that it was best to help the young family out, to which Permilla promptly slapped the taste out of her sibling's mouth for speaking such nonsense. No, Permilla didn't like it one bit, and folks who were on the scene said that she had fire in her eyes when she approached William Poe and told him not to get too comfortable, because she assured him she'd be back and there'd be hell to pay.
Okay, and as we know, anytime that you hear a story that's been passed down and passed down and passed down, there's probably some exaggeration being put to that story, because this part, and it may be the way my mind works, but I'm thinking, if she really was so scary and she smacked the taste out of his mouth, it didn't stop him from renting to these people. He still rented to them.
He wasn't gone. To William, the whole ordeal was peculiar, to say the least, but nearly a half year had passed without any additional disturbances. Now, William's job took him away from his home for days at a time, deeper and deeper into the hills, where he spent most of his time at a makeshift lumber camp. And by the late fall, he was working in an area known as Straight Creek, a place that was nearly 10 miles away from his home. So it was normal for him to spend 7 to 10 days at a time logging. And this meant that his wife, Kitty, would frequently spend weeks at a time alone. And as fate would have it, this would prove to be a dangerous place for all of the Poe family to be. And I must warn you, what happens next was so horrifying and despicable. It would soon be splashed on the front page all across the entire planet Earth. On the night of Friday, October 22nd, 1886, William Poe was in the middle of a 2-week shift at the lumber camp down in Straight Creek. Yet, back home, unbeknownst to his family, trouble was brewing. Now, although the Poe family had been in Stinking Creek for over 6 months, and during that time, they had done their best to keep to themselves, but all that changed on a trip down to town where Kitty Poe just happened to take a wagon load of corn to sell. Now, there were actually several farmers down at the market that day who all had their corn for sale, and it had long been an unwritten code of the mountains that everybody would always sell their crops for the same price at markets, so that each man would have a fair chance to sell all of their product based on its quality. However, on this day, Miss Poe set her asking price for half the price of all the other farmers, which resulted in her selling every ear of corn, and all the other farmers, well, they ended up hauling their corn back up that mountain. Oh, the hillsmen were furious at this underhanded tactic, and from an outsider no less. And among those who immediately sought revenge was none other than Permilla Warren, who had already been seething and stewing over her brother renting to those outsiders. And that night, one of the most horrific crimes ever committed in the annals of Kentucky took place when Permilla and 6 of her men surrounded the Poe cabin. Inside, 6 children between the ages of 1 and 9 years old were sound asleep, along with Miss Poe and an 18-year-old nanny. But suddenly, the men kicked the front door down as all the children began screaming. Frantically,
Yeah, it's on a channel called Appalachia Storyteller. And y'all, if you all have not checked this channel out, I highly recommend it. It's got a lot of interesting stories, and it's not just about around here where I live. There are stories about people in Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Alabama. I mean, the range, you never know. You never know. You might be surprised and find out that you just married into a family that has a brutal murderer in it. But I think his family is, you know, they're a lot better now. This is not the finest example.
Miss Poe ran from the back bedroom with a shotgun in her hand, but Permilla shot the frantic mother right in front of her children, and then pistol whipped the nanny, cracking her skull. Both women were dead in an instant. Then the cabin erupted in hellish cries for help from the children, and in an effort to save bullets, Permilla and her...
Hey, remain calm. Thank you for coming out of the bushes and saying hello. Thank you, Flies. Thank you so much. Flies has dropped the link to Flies is his name, JD, but his channel's awesome, y'all. Just saying. It's dropped in chat, and it's also in the description. Check him out.
Her men pulled out hunting knives, and then, one by one, they slashed each of them, extinguishing all signs of life before dosing the entire cabin with kerosene and burning it to the ground. The fire lit up the night sky for miles, and when neighbors arrived the next morning, all that remained of the cabin were smoldering ashes. And by Sunday morning, news of the fire finally reached William Poe, who rode his horse as hard as he could to get back to his family. But when he arrived, the only thing that was left was a small box containing the scattered bone fragments of his family, where the broken husband and father then had to bury them in the front yard. At first, it appeared that the entire event had been a tragic accident, and the murders would go unpunished. But within a few weeks, an unexpected break in the case happened when Permilla's 10-year-old son told his school teacher that he had followed his mom and dad down to the Poe cabin that night and hid at the edge of the woods and heard those gunshots. And then he saw the fire. Risking her own life, the school teacher then traveled to Barberville and told U.S. Marshal Hunter what the boy had confessed. A month later, the lawman and a posse of 6 men slipped into the Stinking Creek community under the cover of darkness and burst into Permilla's cabin while she was sleeping. Upon seeing the lawmen, she pulled a pistol from underneath her mattress and opened fire, injuring 3 of the men before running out of bullets. Just like that, Permilla Warren and 6 of her men were arrested and would stand trial for 8 counts of first-degree murder. It seemed like it was an open and shut case. After all, U.S. Marshals had found some of Miss Poe's jewelry in Permilla's cabin, and even the bed that Permilla was sleeping on when she was arrested was stolen from the Poe cabin.
Can we just talk about that for a minute? Not only did this woman kill This entire poor family, with the exception of Mr. Poe. She also took the bed, y'all. Memo's on the line. Just a second, baby. But, I mean, what do y'all think about that?
Before she burned it to the ground. Combined with the testimony of her own son, surely this outlaw mistress would hang for her crimes, right? Well, not so fast, my friend. Each member of Permilla's gang was held on a $2,000 bond, and one would have thought that there would be cries for mountain justice. But nothing could have been further from the truth. You see, in the days leading up to the trial, both the judge and the lead prosecutor's horses were mysteriously killed, and death threats were pinned to each of the men's front doors. Extra lawmen were brought in from neighboring counties to protect the jailhouse as outlaws and renegades alike descended from Stinking Creek and set up camp outside of the courthouse, armed to the teeth, ready for an all-out war if a single one of the accused were convicted of the crimes. Now you have to keep in mind that back in those days, every man was allowed to bring his loaded weapon into the courtroom. And when Judgment Day arrived in March of 1887, the entire courthouse was packed with men, toting Colt pistols, and lawmen strapped with Winchester rifles. It was literally a powder keg ready to explode.
How in the world was this family supposed to get justice when all these people that clearly a lot of people was afraid of back then were permitted to come inside this courthouse, packing their weapons? I mean, can you really get a jury to say guilty if there's going to be gunfire breaking out? We think it's bad now, but can you imagine how things was done back then?
Inside, nearly 60 witnesses were called for the prosecution to testify, but mysteriously, nearly all of them failed to show up for court. And even the young boy's testimony that he had seen his mother commit the crime was thrown out after the defense suggested that it was forced for him to say it. Yet the fact remained that there were still 8 victims of this crime, 7 of them children. Surely justice would be served. And finally, after 2 days of testimony, the case was in the hands of the jury. You could have heard a pin drop when the 12 jurors returned after 8 hours of deliberation. It was said that every man in the room had his weapon half cocked, and that the entire room was holding its breath when the head juror stood and spoke. Your Honor, it is my sad duty to report that 6 jurors have voted for a conviction of first-degree murder on all counts. However, 6 jurors have also voted for acquittal. We are hopelessly deadlocked and recommend that the case be dismissed without prejudice. Can you believe that? The case was simply dismissed and all charges were dropped. As I was researching this story, I found newspaper articles from all over the world: New York, California, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, France, and even Germany, all begging for justice to be served for the Poe family. Yet, it would never be. The entire judicial system was terrified of Permilla Warren and her army that ruled Knox County, Kentucky like warlords. Permilla Warren would never be charged with another crime and remained untouchable until she died in 1908.
And that's her grave. It looks like that's actually the picture that they have on Find a Grave. But as you can see, she was a gambler. And before she was a Warren, I noticed that the name Warren ain't even put on that headstone. I don't think if I was Old Man Warren, I would have either.
04, and is buried today in Stinking Creek. Today, this story has nearly been lost to time. And the tragedy of the Poe family became one of those stories that the old-timers would simply say, well, we don't talk about that no more. What about you, my friend? Did Permilla Warren get away with cold-blooded murder? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And, as always, be sure to like and subscribe for more true stories from Appalachia's past.
Okay, what do y'all think? Is that not sad that somebody can have a whole town so scared that they can't even be prosecuted when they actually probably should have been put to death? I'm just saying, this woman and her cronies didn't just kill Miss Poe and the nurse or babysitter, whatever you want to call her, that was living there, but 6 kids too, small children. And as to not waste a bullet, they used their knives to do those with. And justice was never served. I think it can happen now, especially back. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's very sad. And I think intimidation plays a big part in some cases today, Chatty. It is interesting, Michelle. And like I said earlier on my other channel, I do plan on trying to go and find her grave. I'm curious, was she buried with her birth family, or is she buried around the Millses, around the Warrens? Why is Warren not put on her tombstone? It says Gambrel, but to think she lived out the rest of her life. All I can say is I hope that when she shut her eyes, it was those kids she saw. And to me, because to me, that's just horrific. That is, and a lot of things haven't changed in that area now. The part where it said that in Stinking Creek, outsiders didn't just go up in there if they was met with a shotgun wanting you to state your business. That would clearly happen today. A lot of family lives up in there. And like I said, everybody that lives up in Stinking Creek are not bad people. I know some very, very good people that live up in there. My aunt used to live up in there. But there's a whole area up in there called Millses Creek. And, you know, they was talking about the Millses. Well, some of those Millses are some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. But the thing that surprised me is this happened in my county, and I'd never heard about it. So I guess people just don't talk about that anymore. I think it can. Yeah. What do y'all think about that story? I did notice it was dismissed without prejudice. So I do wonder kind of why they didn't try later on. But then you got that double jeopardy law too. And out of all the people that was afraid of her, her kid knocked her out. It was her kid that told on her. She didn't just violently end these people's lives. She robbed them, brought the bed home, and slept on it. It's beyond me. Well, that's true. CLK says it goes away after a while, new generations and new crimes. And you're absolutely right. That's the reason I documented on this channel my uncle's murder. because I know there's generations that's coming up that don't know nothing about it. Haven't heard nothing about it. When I was growing up, you couldn't say anything about my uncle's case without everybody knowing about it. Everybody had an opinion. But now, not so much. Did they not do retrial back then? Must not have. Must not have. It says that she went to her grave not ever doing any time for this. I'm a cool woman. Some people are just, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I can't fathom how a lot of these people do what they do. These serial killers, I don't get how in the world that they ever are able to do that. I don't think I could live with myself. As a matter of fact, I know I couldn't. I'm so glad you're bringing new light on old crimes and heartbreak. Keep history alive. And that's one thing that I liked about this is it is history. I mean, it may not be American history that you're going to read about in schools, but in my area, it's history. And I thought that you all may want to check that channel out. You never know what you're going to find in your area. Did she do more crimes after that? Oh, from the way that they were talking, she was rough anyway, so I can imagine that she probably did. But like I said, I had never heard of her until Flies sent me this video. And then I got to researching, and they said that I went to find a grave. Then I went back to my husband's ancestry, and I found her way down the line in his ancestry. And thank you, Flies. Thank you so much. So, I mean, he is related to her. It's very distant, but he is related to her. And he is nothing like that. I mean, and what's odd is he is related to her on his grandma's, his mom's side, that grandma. And you would just have to know his mama. She is so humble. That side of the family is normally so humble. Now, I reckon his mama, she's pretty rough, but not in a crime way. It's just they don't take no crap off nobody kind of way. I like that channel. My mother was from the hills of Kentucky, just a stone's throw from Tennessee. So I like those old stories and how they're told. I do too. I do too. I'm not a stone's throw away from Tennessee myself. If she did others, people were probably too scared to say anything. And yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder what all did she do? Because in this case, they were brave enough to arrest her and the Mills clan, but justice wasn't served. You can only imagine how tensions rose. And I wonder, how did she treat that kid afterwards? Did they not think of her kid that actually turned her in, or, well, didn't really turn her in, just ratted her out when he went to school the next day? But can you imagine how he was treated? Because let's face it, she probably didn't treat him with much kindness either. Now, I mentioned the brother, that it says she smacked the taste out of his mouth, and I was like, but was he really afraid of her? Because he continued to rent from them. I would think if he was afraid of her, he would have been like, y'all, I can't rent this place. It's going to be trouble. But he didn't do that. And then, so I saw this actually posted on Facebook days later, because you know how our phones do sometimes. But in the comments on Facebook, there was people saying, The brother was my great-great-grandfather. There's no way that she would have smacked the taste out of his mouth. He was a very tall man and as rough as she was. So, like I said, sometimes we get pieces of stories and they're not all correct. But now this murder was correct. It's in the papers. He's right. It's not very hard to find. She was from Girdler, Kentucky, near Corden or Barville. And Barvilleville. Yeah. Your mom was? That's very close to me. I'll say that. How was she raised? Good question. I'd say rough. If I'm guessing, I'd say rough. Was she raised hard and survival mode? Well, back then, tell me who wasn't raised hard, y'all. It wasn't like kids was able to, especially in this part, okay? Because I know how it was when I was raised. And we all had chores to do. We all had things that we had to be done. In big families back then, I mean, there wasn't a lot of money to go around. So, I mean, we could really classify everybody as being raised hard. But in my opinion, that gives us character. It don't give us an excuse to really go out and murder 6 children and 2 adults. But I would say, yes, she probably was raised hard. Just from this story, it seemed like she found what works. And she got in with a rough crowd, was a mistress, or what they used to call a loose woman. And she had a husband. He knew about this Mills guy, and he was too scared to even divorce her. So I think she sought out the people that she knew was gonna. She had her own little good old boys crew, if that makes any sense. Makes us strong, yeah. It made me strong. Now, long cold woman, Girdler. I went to Girdler school, if that tells you how close to the area I am. But and I'm from that last generation, y'all. Yeah, most of you all are too. I don't think I got very young people that really watch this channel very often. But we wasn't raised up with Nintendo games, and we saw them created, and computers and phones in our hands. I mean, if you had real toys, you was doing good when I was growing up, because we played with dirt a lot of times. We could be kin. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Are you still from this area, long cool woman? Sometimes your childhood and raising is nothing like how we act as adults. That's the truth. That is the truth. Because some people don't want me on that tangent. Tobacco sticks and rocks. Yeah. And summers wasn't spent just on a summer break. Summers was when you planted tobacco and you had mom and dad had full day's work for you. I mean, you didn't go around snacking all day. You got your 3 meals a day, and you knew when they were going to be fixed, and you was at that table to eat it. I mean, I'm being honest. I don't recall going to the refrigerator every 10 minutes when I was little. I was busy. I was out in these hills. I had things to do. I did. A playhouse to build. I did too. I played with crawdaddies. Up and rain was more of a blessing and not just crops. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, first of all, it helped with the crops, but if you got rain, it also got you out of work that day. But I wouldn't change the way that I was raised for nothing. You didn't go around with this right here in your hand either, and kids was healthier. People won't talk about us drinking out of the hose. You's probably drink more bugs than you could shake a stick at might had. But now, kids wasn't walking around with diabetes at the age of 8 back then either. I played in the sandbox and looked for tadpoles and standing water. Tried to keep frogs, fish, and worms. I'm gonna tell y'all a story. it's gonna reveal how mean I was, but I'm gonna tell y'all a story. The neighbor boys and us, we played together all the time. The youngest boy was close to my age, and the older one was close to my sister's age. And my sister, now you gotta understand, I live up a holler, okay? And the water ain't that deep in the creek most of the time. Maybe a little bit deep, not deep enough for fish. It ain't no river, it ain't no lake, it's a creek, okay? But she was down there and she had a piece of stick and had a string tied to the end of it and pretending like that she was fishing. And me at the time, I was up at the barn, me and my cousin, Missy. Y'all have heard about her a couple times on here. But we was up there just cheering away. There was a big old rock up there and we was acting like we was on a team. And we were just cheering to beat the band. And here she came right up that hill. And she said, "You need to quit with all that yelling. You're scaring my fish away." Her and the two brothers was down there fishing. And that didn't scare me. Went right back at it. Now, she came up the second time and she said, "If I have to come back up this hill one more time," and you got to understand, we were all young. She said, "I'm going to hang you from that tree." And there was a big old apple tree beside the rock that I was standing on. When I say a rock, I'm not talking about a rock like this. I'm talking about a big rock we used to climb up and under and play. Or you'd get on top of it and play. And on top of it was where I was at the moment. But now, don't get me wrong. My sister, we were young, but now she meant what she said, or in my head she did. And I'm started right back because, I mean, I wasn't going to be scared. Although it was a little bit. But she was 4 years older than me. But here she came back up. And this time she came, she had the brothers with her. And I thought, she's really going to hang me from that tree. And on the weekends, when my cousin would come over, well, all of them would be over. But at this particular time, it was this one. Her mom started hollering for her to come down the hill. It's time to leave. And she takes off. And here I am. And when my sister started coming towards me, I picked up a rock. And I reached way back and I gave it a sling. Well, I'll never forget. It hit her right here. Knocked her smack out. Boys go down the hill flying. And I was trying to let my feet save my body. And I just ran into the house and didn't say jack diddle to anybody. And my granny came in there and she said, "Crystal, where's Angie?" I said, She's up at the barn laying down. She said, "What's she laying in the barn for?" I said, "Because that's where I left her when I knocked her out." And I'll never forget. That was the first butt whipping that my granny ever gave me. But it was well deserved. And my sister went to her grave with a scar right here where I hit her with that rock. I was all interested in tadpoles when it got too dry. Guys, ain't that the truth? My granddaughters are allergic to everything. I'm afraid to cook for them. What did flies say? Turtles and snakes always about in the creeks. Ain't that the truth right there? Y'all, I'm pretty sure I probably ate some things in that mountain sometimes that probably was poisonous. But I don't ever remember having an allergic reaction to them. And I don't remember having poison oak that much. But we had fun back then, y'all. Would y'all like to see more little stories like this? I ain't showing his whole channel. I want y'all to go check it out. But I have found some neat things on the internet since I watched him because, that started filling my feeds with other things. Yes, please. I thought this would be a neat little thing. Like I said today on my other channel, I've really got into this guy, Scott on Tape, is what his channel's name is. And he goes to he does a daily vlog is what it is. So you can't classify him really as true crime because that's just a very small section of what he does on his channel. But he will go to places in some of those places is where people were murdered and the crime's been solved, or maybe it wasn't solved, but he'll go there and then at the end he'll take you to their grave and leave a rock because he's Jewish and that's the way he believes. And I think it's really neat. But he'll tell you the story about that person, and then at the end of his video he'll go pay his respects. And one place that he went was the Axe Murder House. And in that one, it's very, very similar to an extent to Amityville Horror. But all these people, I think there was 8 people there too, were slaughtered with an axe in their sleep. And nobody knows how the person got in the house. They don't know if maybe back then the doors went unlocked and they were staying up into the attic and just attacked them after they went to bed. But the big question is, why didn't anybody wake up? And that's a question with Amityville Horror. I've always wondered, why didn't nobody wake up? And in Amityville, they used the pew-pew. I love his Jane Mansfield, Scott. Yes, I do too. That tape is good. Just a second. Give me just a second, y'all. Okay. Yeah, I like his mohawk too. He's a very good storyteller. And Days with Jordan Alone, that's another good one. Just a second. My husband is trying to call me. But Flies Crystal told me about Scott on Top. He's good. He is. And the Black Dahlia. I like that video. Kurt Cobain. He actually goes to these places, and the Mansons. Oh, really? I'll have to check him out for flies. But Scott on Tape, I like him, and I like Jordan Days with Jordan Line. Now he goes to a lot of famous places, like Clark Gable's house is somewhere he went. He's went to some murder scenes. There was but Scott on Tape did do a video about Aaron Carter. Am I so out of touch that I did not know Aaron Carter was dead? Y'all, when I say that case, and I said I would mention it here tonight, I will mention it. I'm going to look into it, though, because something ain't adding up there. The night before, he got people were attacking him, okay? And they would do what we see a lot on here, like call well checks in, saying that he was acting funny. Well, the night before, that had happened. And now you got to know that his housekeeper is alleged a homeless person that he took in. Now, I don't know how long she had been his housekeeper, but she came to the door and said, he's okay, 8 o'clock. Then she says that she was leaving and he was going to get in the tub. But when she came back the next morning, he was in the tub, okay? And so she called 911. They show up, and they didn't even take pictures. His mom had to take pictures from everything that I've seen on here. And the bathtub, just a second. It was full of green stuff, y'all. Give me just a minute. I think there's a short one on here I can share. If you want to see that. If there's a short video, would y'all like to see that right quick? Okay. I think this might be it. Is that it? There we go. Okay. Let me put this up here. Okay. How long is that one? Here we go.
Aaron Carter's mom has made a pretty remarkable decision. She has decided she wants the world to see the death scene, where the bathroom where Aaron was found dead. And the reason for this is she is calling out the police and feels like they did not do a proper investigation here, because she is certainly insinuating that there may have been foul play involved in Aaron Carter's death. We're gonna bring her on, but before we do, I just want to make something really clear. The police have said it was not foul play. They have not identified anybody as a person of interest, a suspect, anything like that. The operating theory is he was huffing and he overdid it and died in the bathtub. So that's the operating theory. She has a different point of view. Right. The photos that she has released show.
Did y'all see that bathtub? Look how full it is. Now, if a body was in that, why is there no water lost? She makes a good point. The floor ain't wet. But look how green that water is, y'all. There was a well check done the night before. Now, I know how long it takes for a swimming pool to get green. Just saying.
The bathtub, it shows the floor around the bathtub, and there are things that she sees there or doesn't see in these images that that make her suspicious. And she wanted to make sure that Aaron's death remains something that people are talking about. And I think she's insinuating she wants people to put pressure on the police to do a thorough investigation. So joining us now to talk about why she put these out is Jane Carter, Aaron's mom. Jane, welcome to Team Z Live.
Thank you so much.
So Jane, why don't you walk us through what troubles you about that scene, about the things that you saw in the photograph and the things that you've heard happened in the house?
Oh, well, the first day, I mean, I got a call. The first thing, I got a call from my daughter, Angel. She said that Aaron was found in the pool. So then I found out later that he was found in a tub, and it just, everything, the stories just kind of kept changing.
And can I just say, what is up with all these celebrities being found in their tub? If any of y'all get famous, start taking showers. Sure as you make a bathtub of water, that's it.
But I was very concerned because, you know, he had obviously had a lot of people that were harassing him on the internet.
Are you suggesting that somebody may have done him harm? Somebody who was going after him online?
Oh, absolutely.
Jane, what is it you think happened? I mean, you know, the police have said there was no obvious sign of foul play in his death. So what is the theory that you think may have happened?
The Lancaster Police Department was there many, many times on welfare checks, sent there by different people. And, you know, the night that he died, Melanie said that there was a welfare check. And there was obviously not a welfare check. The lady Betty, that was the housekeeper, said he was fine, and nobody actually really checked on Aaron.
I am so sorry, and I don't want to like challenge you on this, but I got to ask, isn't that kind of splitting hairs? The police did show up for a welfare check. My understanding is they talked to Betty, never got to Aaron because Betty said he was okay. That was my recollection.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting?
What y'all think? I've never accused anybody of anything on my channel. I do not plan on starting that today. But my question is this. I would hope that if a well check was called on me, that the cops would lay eyes on me to make sure I'm well. I mean, how can you just take the word of somebody that's there? And I'm not saying Betty did anything, but if this woman did, yeah, she's going to say he's okay. He's all right. I think they should really reconsider well checks. If you don't have to lay eyes on the person, are you really doing a well check on them?
That Betty was just like let go, and nobody knows where she is now. She was never interviewed. There was never any kind of homicide investigation, which there should have been. That house should have been closed off. People were tromping through, just like I said. And I think it's wrong.
We should say, just for the record so people know,
how many times have we heard they were just letting people walk in? especially on a celebrity. That happened in John Bonet's case. The crime scene was tainted because they didn't rope it off and keep people out. So, I mean, I get it. I get it.
Betty has never been in any way named as even a person of interest or anything like that. So I get this is your personal opinion on it. Look,
See, okay, I find that very interesting too, because allegedly, because I haven't found the video of him talking about Diddy, but the videos that I watched after all this mess right here, they were saying that he was saying stuff about Diddy shortly before he was found dead. I don't know, but and if you are the person, if you're the person who says they're okay, you could become a suspect. That's true. That's true. Why did they not lay eyes on him?
your son has had a history of huffing.
Yeah.
And I guess, there was a video that he had posted, I think within a week before his death.
Yes, it was sent to me.
So I guess the operating theory has been this was huffing gone bad. Do you entertain that as a possibility? Are you dismissing that?
No, actually, the first time Aaron went to rehab was Betty Ford. And I went to Johnny Wright's compound in Orlando, Florida. And his friend Jason Sanchez said, "Oh, don't come, don't come." Aaron called me and said, "Mom, please come." And I went. And he was like in a closet and just huffing. But the thing about Aaron, he never, when he was doing that, he always hid it. It wouldn't just be thrown around a bathtub like that or all around the room.
Now, let me also clear up. He was huffing air. Compressed air. That's what he was huffing.
And even found outside days later. So.
But again, he could have done that thinking he could clean it up himself because he never would have thought he would die accidentally. So couldn't you do that behind closed doors as your bedroom door is closed and then just move it and then clean it up?
And they have a very good point with that. If somebody's in the bathtub and the door's locked, naturally they probably think they can pick up their contraband and then leave. So
yeah, after you get out of the tub.
I don't know, perhaps, but it just wasn't his MO. So, as far as I knew.
Jane, have you heard anything from the coroner's office as far as timeline when the toxicology might be back?
I did hear that if it is the aerosols or whatever, then that's probably not going to be detected. So if it's something else, which Melanie thinks it is, because there was a drug dealer and she has the last text that she sent to the detective.
And if it's drugs, that would surface in the toxicology results. So you're going to know something.
This is the thing that I don't like, okay? I'm looking at those photos. Obviously, people were able to go into that home, his home.
And she makes a good point right here, y'all. Pay attention.
And see that. Look at that tub. Okay, look how full that tub is. All right, if you put a body in there and it gets that green or whatever, you put a body in there and don't you think there'd be some water on the outside when you pull it out and you're supposedly doing CPR? I mean, that overfull tub in my...
See, flies, that's menu, girl. I'm thinking that same thing. And if you look, like right up here around where the faucet is, it's on the side of the tub. And yeah, I'd say the water was up to there. But how did it get so green so quickly? I mean, did we hear anything about Whitney Houston's bathtub being green? No. Did we hear anything about Bobby Christina's bathtub being green? No. What about Matthew Perry? No. So why is his?
My opinion. So I think there's a lot of suspicious. Hey, I know he was an addict. Okay. I know that he had his issues, and a lot of them were with doctors that were, prescribing him medications that they should not have been prescribing him.
Yeah.
Because they weren't doing the meetings. These doctors, you're supposed to see a patient in person.
And we know that
Right.
doesn't always happen for sure. We know that. Well, look, I mean, look, we're out of time, but obviously the toxicology may answer some of these questions,
Or may
but it's possible
create other
you're
questions.
never going to get a full answer if it was indeed aerosol. So, I guess we just have to wait to see what those results are.
No, I do think that Aaron did not want to die. He had no intention of dying. And I don't think that he would be doing that much of that aerosol. It's just it's like overkill. So.
All right. Jane, first.
And now, like I said, I did also hear that it was like those air cans that you clean your computer with. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't even know he was dead till the other day. See, there flies. And to leave that much residue at the rim. Yeah. That. And to not take pictures. How do you just walk into a crime scene and then immediately say, okay, this is an overdose? Didn't they do that with Marilyn Monroe? And I'm sorry, I don't think that was an overdose. I don't think I don't think it was, my opinion. I haven't been able to find a video where Nick says he thinks that it's anything other. It could be out there. I don't know. But most of what I have found is Nick saying that addiction runs very thick in his family. And we know it does because in this one family, Aaron isn't the only one. Look into that. He's got a sister, Leslie, and another one, I think. I might be wrong on that. I haven't did no deep dive into this. But out of all of the children left, him and Aaron's twin Angel are the only ones left. Seems like it was the air cans to clean the computer. Yeah, that's what I saw, and I was like, why is somebody huffing air? And y'all, that's beyond my even scope of understanding or even pretending to understand, because I don't get none of that, okay? Those things, real code for this. Seems he would have. I had not even thought about that, Flies. I had not thought about that at all. Yes, if you're enjoying this live stream, hit that like. And if you're not, hit the thumbs down. Either one helps me out. But this, y'all, this is wild right here. I think I am going to look into it a little bit more. I'd have to find something pretty significant to do a whole episode on it, because from what I did see, there's a lot of conspiracies in this. Now we see the mom there, but I also saw an interview where he was talking about when he was 15 and was doing the MTV Cribs, that 10 or 15 minutes before they showed up to film, his mom and dad told him they were separating. So he went through that whole episode showing people what he knew he was going to lose. And that had to be bad, y'all. Had to be. Wonder if we can find the autopsy report. Like I said, I'm going to look into it, see what I can find on it, or what has been released, because I don't keep up with celebrities. So I didn't even know he was dead, y'all. Had no clue. I told my husband, I said, "Did you know that Aaron Carter is dead?" He said, "Who?" I said, "Aaron Carter." And he said, "Do we know him?" I said, "No, he sung that song, I Want Candy." He's like, "You worried me." It's like, well, I didn't even know he died. And I didn't. But, I mean, my daughter liked his music. But I would like to see that autopsy report. But if they didn't, this is where that always bothers me. If they didn't take the time to even take crime scene photos, and she just said in that interview they didn't, that she had to take those photos. And I have a problem with that when it comes to this. This is where my mind's at. Is that exactly how that water was when they got there? I mean, we see the ring at the top, so I'm assuming it was. But, and why didn't they take crime scene photos? Sued celebrity. Things like that are always happening. Yeah. And cover-ups, y'all. Y'all know I've become the conspiracy queen up in here. It takes a long time for that ring to happen. It does. I've got a swimming pool, y'all. And when I say I know how long it takes for a pool to get green, I do. I mean, yeah, if it's been raining, it's going to do it quicker. But to get that ring on the side, how in the world was she able to say he was okay at 8 o'clock the night before? That makes no sense to me. Even if it's self-OD or unalive, still should have been treated as a crime. Exactly. Too often is a case mishandled at the beginning of the case, and I think it completely destroys the case. My uncle's case, in my opinion, mistreated at the beginning. They had to stick with a narrative because they had to stick with what they had. But if they'd have done true detective work at the very beginning of it, he could have got justice. They was more worried about having a witness. John Benet Ramsey, when I say that case was handled horribly, it was handled horribly. I mean, how do people search a house and cops didn't find her, but her dad goes straight to her? And I'm not saying that he did anything, but then he does what I imagine a lot of dads would do and pick that body up and bring it back upstairs. He's done contaminated it. And then on top of that, you've got a house full of people. It should have been roped off. While he did have Xanax in his system too while inhaling, the coroner determined it was accidentally drowning, but it should have been investigated. I think it should have been investigated. And this is where my problem comes in with it at. He had a well check the night before. Yes, they didn't lay eyes on him, but she said he was fine. So I want to know, how was he fine? because he had to be in that water for that water to turn green for a while. I don't trust that any of the many who died in the tub were self-unaliving. I don't either, Michelle, because, yeah, let's get comfortable here just a second. Tell me this. In your everyday, average Joe's life, how many people do you know that's found in the bathtub? Oh, I'm really waiting. You don't hear that. And I've known some rough people in my days, especially back when I was younger. Not one of that wild bunch said, you know what? I'm going to go fill me up a big old thing of hot water and do me some drugs. No, normally they were with other people doing drugs. Exactly. No one. None. No, you don't. Exactly. You don't hear that. So why is it so popular with these celebrities? I question any time I hear a celebrity died in a tub. Or on the couch. Yep. Yep. I mean, most are going to say, I'm going to go do drugs in the tub. Well, that's true too. But you know what? Even those little hillbillies didn't die there. I mean, they didn't. Okay, Dutchie. So, and like I said, y'all, if it was just the tub, I could almost overlook it. But this tub is green. It's got algae in it. It stained the top side of the tub. There is no way she saw him going to the tub the night before. There ain't no way. Which also tells me there's no way that she honestly could say Aaron's fine. Not only that, y'all, she didn't even want to let the paramedics in. Did y'all know that? Didn't want to let the paramedics in. I have only heard of people being placed in the tub or shower if they OD. They do not put themselves in there. How warm was it in this house? My pool didn't turn green all winter. It didn't start until a couple weeks ago. Well, see, in our pool, we use that stuff. We get it from the water company, and you put about that much in, and it's called Blue something other. But you can get it from the water company, and it works awesome in your swimming pool. Now, my pool didn't start turning green until the rain, all that rain, one right after another. And then it started turning green. So I have no idea. In bed, pews are usually outside. Sun in bed. Never ever in my experience. I don't know of anybody that's died in a bathtub. And that's fortunate of me. I'm glad. But anytime I hear about somebody meeting their final moments in a tub, then I question it. Just a second. Okay. Okay. I'm going to show y'all a little bit of this. And the reason I'm showing it is because I think he does a pretty good job. If I can remember this, I'm very good. And this is Scott on tape.
Following developing news tonight in Lancaster, where pop star Aaron Carter has died at the age of 34.
Yeah, the troubled performer grew up in the limelight, but he was in and out of rehab several times in his short life.
I'm going to get it up to where he starts. He used to do quite the intro.
It is
And I'm looking at this flies. Just a second.
surrounded by desert, Lancaster, Palmdale. If you've seen any of my previous videos, I've done a lot of videos from up in this area, and I love coming up here. It's beautiful. Now, this particular part of Lancaster I've never been in. It is far from the rest of the city, to say the least. And here today, I'm going to do a video about Aaron Carter. I've gotten so many requests to do a video about Aaron Carter. He passed away on November 5th of this year, so just 11 days ago. And I've never probably had any, the amount of requests I had to do something on Aaron Carter is just out of control, like with messages and comments on YouTube. And I was debating whether or not, like, how do I do it? Because first of all, he just passed away. He's been cremated. There's no grave yet. And usually on my videos, I go to graves, but there is a memorial to him outside of the house where he passed away, which is right up here. So I'm going to go over there and we'll talk more about Aaron Carter. And with me are two friends of mine. This is Jeff and Britt. They have a channel called 909 Adventures. They're desert dwellers.
Yes. And this is far out here.
Right.
It took us just as long to get here as it did for you.
That's
And
right.
We're up here.
Yeah. It took me no time at all, probably about an hour to get here from Hollywood. About an hour. But you know, like if I left an hour later, I would have been stuck in traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely would have.
Yeah. But it's far. So it's weird that a celebrity lives not only in Lancaster, but this far out of Lancaster.
And this basic of a neighborhood.
Yeah. It's a beautiful. I mean, look at these houses. They are nice houses all around us. And Aaron Carter.
Yeah.
I worked at a record store, CD store in the 90s, early 2000s. So I knew Backstreet Boys, of course. Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were huge. And then Aaron Carter, Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys, his little brother, released an album called Aaron Carter, where he's jumping up the cover of the album. I remember he's jumping up on the cover. Like,
Yeah, it was pretty young.
yeah, like a little blonde kid. This had bubblegum pop, catchy songs. So it's a little out of my, like, you know, we listened to it at the record store, CD store, because we had to listen to everything, you know, put it on.
Right.
And they're catchy. There's no doubt. His first two albums had some catchy stuff on it. And Britt, you're kind of the age where you knew Aaron Carter, right? And NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. You were a fan?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Britney Spears, that whole
Now, come on, Scott. We all knew of Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and Aaron Carter.
thing. I mean, and Nickelodeon, he was on a lot of Nickelodeon shows.
I remember him on Disney Channel. Lizzie McGuire.
Right.
Her Christmas special, singing "I Want Candy."
Yeah. So
you didn't have to be a fan of him to even know who he was, because he was everywhere. Billboards, magazines, commercials, again, TV shows.
Right.
And that is absolutely true, because I was not really a fan. My daughter was. So that's how I knew of Aaron Carter.
I wasn't a fan, I'll admit that, but you knew who he was.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a different age group. You know, when it's something like that, it's definitely made for a specific demographic. Yeah. But you can also like Backstreet Boys music was not made for my demographic. I was listening to hip hop and, you know, grunge and rock. You know, House of Carter, right? The TV show. There only was one season, the reality show. But when a celebrity, so there's a lot of people like of your age group on Google Street View, the house looks a lot different.
Yeah, it does.
It does, right? Like they've changed. He changed it, I guess, or I know he bought it for $600,000.
Really?
Yeah, and was selling it recently. Was trying to sell it for $800,000.
Huh.
And a house like this size with the pool in the back, that's gonna be a $2 to $3 million house in LA.
Yeah,
easy,
exactly.
Easy.
Especially tying it to a celebrity.
Right. So here is Aaron's house. Wow. So let's go and take a look at what the memorials. The house, yeah. You see lots of people have come out and left a lot of stuff here for him. Wow. Flowers.
Well,
teddy bears, a lot of candles.
Well, that's what they post it for. If you can't read. Where'd it go?
Well, you can see right there, there's yellow caution tape for the police because they were investigating the scene, and still there, still hanging off the side there. Wow. So I guess what we should talk about is how he passed away. And
now, see, this is where they get into talking about it. And Long Cool Woman, yeah, I was more of a Backstreet Boys fan myself. Nick Carter, that sung in the Backstreet Boys, is Aaron Carter's older brother.
Had a housekeeper, correct?
Yes.
And she was apparently a homeless lady that he took in.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that he took in to help look after the house. And she discovered him in the bathtub.
A couple days after.
No, I think it was hours. It wasn't a couple days. Yeah, it was a few hours. Now, not to be too.
Now, see, at first, that's what I was thinking. Okay, maybe he was in there a couple of days, but no. He does his research, y'all, because there's been times I thought, you're wrong. And then I go look it up. No, I am.
Graphic, but I know that she found him on, I believe, the Saturday morning. He'd probably been, his dog was in the room barking, So she went in because people had been trying to contact him. So she went in, and there was a bad smell, and the water had turned a different color. So that means he had been, I know, it means he had been dead for quite a while. Prescription drugs found nearby, and compressed air canisters,
Basically
which is
duster.
Yeah. Computer duster.
Yeah.
And the bedroom.
And a lot of people, I mean, that's a thing people do, is they huff compressed air, but it can cause seizures, it can cause heart attacks, and it can cause sudden death. Yeah. And it's a thing that it's dangerous. It gives you a feeling, as I've read, I've never done it, of euphoria. It's a quick high, doesn't last long. It's like kind of like whippets, right? Like with whipped cream, you know, people used to do that, but it's a little more powerful, and it's not something you want to mess with.
That stuff should be outlawed.
Okay, so I'm learning a lot because I didn't know that you could huff whipped cream either.
Yeah. So his I after this, I bet you there's going to be more about it. But I know that the maid called 911. The neighbors heard something going on. I'm not sure which house it was.
Okay, now pay attention to this, because this I find shady. Sorry, but I find it shady.
And they were trying to come over to help, but she wouldn't let them in at first.
She didn't let the police or somebody else.
The neighbors heard on the scanner. And
Right.
Running over.
That's
They
right.
were gonna help,
and
but
she wouldn't let him in.
But she also wasn't gonna let
She
the
didn't let the
paramedic.
sheriff's department
Yeah,
in.
okay, the sheriff's in. I don't know.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear that? Yeah, Flies. Yeah. I agree. Fly says, now that really is weird. His dog was in there. The dog would have tried to wake him up and make more of a mess. Lone Cool Woman says, well, I believe that his body decomposing could turn the water green, but within hours. Who is the first one that says, oh, let me try this can of air to get high? I don't know, Michelle. Or let me try this Cool Whip or whipped cream. But the fact that did y'all hear what they said about the housekeeper? Listen to this. Listen to this right here.
Or somebody else.
The neighbors heard on the scanner. And
Right.
Running over.
That's
They
right.
were gonna help,
and
but
she wouldn't let him in.
But she also wasn't gonna let
She
the
didn't let the
paramedic.
sheriff's department
Yeah,
in.
okay, the sheriff's in.
She wasn't going to let the sheriff's department in, y'all? Or the paramedics? What's up with this? I mean, it don't look right.
Bizarre.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah. There was quite a scene here. It's quite a scene all the way around here, that's for sure.
Crews that are here. There's also a lot of paparazzi here. Now, Martin wasn't at the house when Carter died. Deputies say at 11 o'clock this morning, they responded to an emergency medical call of a possible drowning on Valley Vista Drive here in Lancaster. They say a house sitter found Carter in the bathtub unresponsive and called 911.
And that's the house right there.
Birthday?
Yeah, that's right. We were just talking. Yeah, it was close to his birthday.
Yeah.
Now, the list of issues Aaron had is lengthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just reading them, the stuff with his family, restraining orders from his own family, from his brother, his sister.
Yeah.
Another sister of his died 10 years ago.
They're almost the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, from almost the same situation.
They found her in the
Did you hear that?
bathroom.
In the
also.
shower, right?
Right.
Yeah, she fell, hit her head.
And Al.
Found her in the bathroom also, in the shower. She fell and hit her head. His sister, y'all.
Allegations that he made against his sister of molestation.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. I mean, he had he was in and out of rehab many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, this is you think about this cute little kid from the 90s and you think about everything he went through, but when you think, you had it all, or somebody had it all, it doesn't
Doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't add up. And but mental health can happen to anyone. Mental health
It's just
issues.
like you never know what anybody's going through. They could put
Exactly.
a smile on their face and be
Right.
Money doesn't make you immune to anything.
Yeah, and there's clips of there's super cuts, they call them, of Aaron Carter being crazy for 10 minutes straight, so to speak. They call it on YouTube. I was watching some of it where he just makes outlandish allegations, claims about his career and about his fame.
Right.
But you never know what he's joking about or what he's being serious about. But he how much did you say he was worth when he passed?
He claimed, from what we found on the internet, that he was worth over 200 million. Well, he claimed that to Oprah, right?
yes on Oprah.
Yeah, Oprah interviewed him, claimed he was worth over 200 million at his height. But we found at the time of his death, he was only worth 400,000.
Right.
Y'all, that house is worth more than that. Just saying. But this guy, he does a lot of good videos, y'all. And I mean, I understand that Lone Cool Woman. What I'm basing the color of that water on is, unfortunately, we've got a lot of other celebrities that have died in tubs and not been found for like 24 hours. And their crime scene wasn't like that. I mean, Whitney Houston wasn't found till the next day. Hers wasn't like that. Within hours, not only did his water turn green, but it had enough that it was sticking to the side of the tub. So that's what seems odd to me, along with the fact that the housekeeper didn't want to let the police, paramedics, or the neighbors in. Now, I understand the neighbors. That would be protecting a crime scene. But the police, what was her excuse there? Why was she not wanting to let them in? Yeah. But which now I do know that her daughter was found fairly quickly. But I mean, it was the next day that Whitney Houston was found. And her water wasn't described as that, like that. Now, Bobby Christina, her water was still boiling hot. So, to the point that they wondered how in the world would she even sit in that anyway. But which Bobby Christina also lived for a little while afterwards. Yeah, it is a possibility. But everything about around it, how long until Matthew Perry was found, I'm not sure on that one. Bly's did share a article with me, y'all, and I do want to read it before I get off here, because it is a story that people really need to hear. And it says, death of Kentucky teen sparks investigation into possible sextortion scheme. The Glasgow, Kentucky teenager enjoyed playing. Okay, I skipped a line. Never mind. Just a minute. Eli Heacock was like many 16-year-olds. The Glasgow, Kentucky teenager enjoyed playing tennis, telling dad jokes, and spending time with his father, who his mother said was his best friend. He was our tornado. He kept us on our toes all the time, said his mother, Shannon. But everything changed in an instant after Eli passed of a self-inflicted gunshot wound on February the 28th, his mom told ABC News. Since his death, his mom said local and federal investigators have said they believe Eli may have been targeted in an alleged sextortion scheme. Eli was on a good track. He had no reason to believe there was an issue at all. We had no reason to believe there was an issue at all. We knew nothing about sextortion or how it works. Eli's father, John, and I'm not doing last names, y'all. Trying not to, told ABC, sextortion is a term used to describe a crime in which an offender coerces a minor to create and send sexually explicit images or videos, according to the FBI. Once the offender receives the content from the child, they then threaten to release the compromising content unless the victim produces additional content. One type of sextortion is financially motivated sextortion, which follows a similar pattern, but is motivated by the goal of financial gain, not sexual gratification. The FBI said after receiving explicit material, the offender will threaten to release the content unless a payment is made. The FBI said financial sextortion has resulted in an alarming number of deaths and unaliving, the FBI said on its website. But the explicit pictures do not need to be taken by the child to qualify as extortion. Bennett said in his son's case, he said the offender made AI-generated images of Eli, sent them to the teenager, and demanded $3,000, or else the pictures would be released of his family, or his family would be harmed. Their intention was to convince Eli their sincerity that they could, in fact, harm him or someone he loved with pictures that they generated. This makes me so angry. This is when AI goes way too far, y'all. I mean, the word nude should be okay. I'm not generating that image. You know what I mean? In the text messages she saw, her son sent a portion of money to the offender, to which the anonymous user replied, "This is not enough." Eli's twin sister discovered her brother's body, ran to her parents, and said Eli was hurt. Shannon said, "How can your lives change that fast over merely $3,000 someone wanted off the internet from a kid? I play a lot of what if I did this? What if I did that? We don't need anybody to add to our guilt because we carry it very heavily right now," Shannon told ABC News. Upon arriving at the hospital, a local FBI detective reviewed Eli's phone, recognized it was a potential sextortion case, and put the teenager's phone on airplane mode, his mom said. The investigation into Eli's death is still in its beginning stages, his father said, with both local detectives and federal investigators reviewing the content of the 16-year-old's phone. The family has also been in contact with Rep. Steve Riley, a lawmaker in Kentucky House of Representatives, who has campaigned a bill in the Kentucky legislature making sextortion a felony and establishing penalties for those convinced of the crime. The bill is now on its way to Governor Andy Beshear to be signed into law, Shannon said. It says the family's last name. I don't want to do it again. I did it by accident once already. Are not the only family mourning the loss of a loved one after a sextortion scheme. In 2023 alone, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received 26,718 reports of financial sextortion, up to 10,731 reports in 2022. Shannon urges parents to check their children's phone at all times because, in her experience, even the happiest child is hiding something. It's no longer to be scared of the white van that drives around. You have to be scared of the internet, Shannon said. Y'all, I completely agree with this mother. Used to, it was the don't get in a car with a stranger, even if they have candy. Now you got to worry about everything online. I would also add to what Shannon said and encourage everybody that watches this live, talk to your kids. Let them know that you are a person they can come to and talk to and tell that something like this is happening. Because if our kids feel safe with telling us stuff, then not saying that she could have done anything different, because I wasn't even aware of this was a thing. So I'm just saying, we need to let our kids know that talking to us is not going to get them in trouble, or we're not going to be like, did you take this photo? Because I imagine that's probably what the kid was afraid of. AI is getting dangerous, y'all. And it's very scary, flies. There's a lot of AI. Now, I did like my little intro, but like I said, I wrote down some lyrics to a song and I put, make a song out of this. And it did it. And I'm kind of happy with it. Oh, yeah, congratulations on the new kitty, Chatty. Oh, she's on Facebook and wants Eli's story told. Well, I'll share this article out and on my YouTube, because I think there's a petition in there too. I saw a link to something. I thought that it was a petition. I could be wrong. But it is something that needs to be shared, because parents need to let their children know and be aware that these things are out there. And in order to be able to do that, we've got to know it's out there, right? We've got to know that these things are online, and it's scary. It is scary. You know, and I don't want to get too religious with you. AI is like everything. It can be a lot of good, but in the hands of evil and criminals, it can be used for bad. That's absolutely correct. You know, the Bible says that man will become wiser but weaker, and man is wiser by having things like the internet, like just us all being in probably different states and being able to sit here and talk to one another. That's something you wouldn't have fathomed being able to be possible when I was growing up, but here we are today doing it. So we have become wiser, but in the same aspect, we've become weaker by depending on it. And we also become more vulnerable because more people knows more about us. Everything about us is almost one Google away. And that's sad, but it's the truth. It can happen anywhere, not just big cities. That's true. That is true. That's the thing about it, is it could happen anywhere. But I didn't even know this was a thing. And Flies, thank you for sharing that, because I like to be aware of what's going on, y'all. Especially when it comes to scams and stuff out there, because the only way to let your kids know that it's out there is to tell them about it. You guys remember when the Roblox thing was going on? What did we do? We found out about it. We tell our kids about it. They make them aware of it. Let them know what to and what they cannot share on the internet. Our lives shouldn't be just put on display. I've always said that one of the biggest mistakes people make is putting everything on Facebook, right down to the fact they're going on vacation. What they should just type out is, I'm not going to be home for a week and 3 days. Come rob me. I mean, yeah, especially in our own state. And that's scary because, I mean, that's Glasgow, Kentucky. I do too, Michelle. I think right here is one of the things that I think personally is tearing families apart. This right here. You can't go out to eat without watching people do this. You have a whole family in a steakhouse. If there's 5 of them, about 4 of them be doing this, and the other one's probably too young too. But they'll do this the whole time. Not even have a conversation. Pick you a day, and I've been telling people this. Pick you a day out of the week. Turn this bad boy off. And talk to your family. I mean, I like to say, I'm not saying everybody does it, but you see it a lot. Fly says she's guilty of it. Flies, I was horrible. I was horrible for it, especially like when Summer Wells's case first started. I can tell you that I was in the semi with my husband, and a couple times a year I'll go out with him to spend a week or 2 with him on the road, just me and him. This particular week, when that Amber Alert went off, I was in Texas in semi with him. He completely lost me for the rest of the trip. I was neck deep into that case. That's when I realized people had open or did lives and had people up on panel and stuff like that, and you know why. And the panel of the week was Ziggy's back then. But we need to be more hands-on, especially, and we as parents, we need to realize that our kids are capable of more than we think. They are. It's too easy to argue with people on social media that you would never have contact with offline. People talk to each other online like they never would face to face. That's true. Some of them wouldn't have the backbone or the guts to talk to people the way they do online. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'd be better arguing with you face to face. And I'll tell you why. I'm revealing a little bit much about myself because after a little bit, I'm going to run out of stuff to say, and I'm probably going to grab hold of you. So there's that. But yeah, you got a lot of keyboard warriors. A lot of people saying a lot of stuff that if that person was right there in front of them, they wouldn't say nothing. Michelle, you know I'm telling the truth. You know good and well I would. I'd run out of comebacks and just grab a hole. Be like, oh, you call me that? Okay, then. But I was also brought up in a time, and all you all was too, that you didn't just talk. Us cousins, every weekend we'll be at my granny's. We'd throw hands, and in 10 or 15 minutes, we'd be playing again. If you went and bleeding, you didn't tell mama. It's the disconnect with the human face to face. Yeah, it is. It is, really. And y'all, I'm guilty of this right here, especially when it comes to siblings. Just sending a message. How you doing today? We need to do better. We can pick up that phone at least and say, in voice, hey, wanted to check on you. How you doing? Because sometimes that's what's needed. And in the world of internet also comes more mental health issues. And I've said this all along. When I was growing up, you heard briefly about people's lives. These kids now are watching other kids' lives. And what's sad is what they're posting on Facebook isn't really their life. It's a highlight. It's a highlight reel to make their life look great. Because in reality, none of us have a perfect life. If we're being honest, we all got issues. There ain't nobody out there saying, I'm great. No, we've all got things that we could work on. We've all got issues that we could deal with. Was a little less talking, a lot more action. Done it, got it out of our system and got over it. Yeah, we did. Everything is text message. My 87-year-old dad texts. I'm always telling him, call me. I want to hear your voice. I'm telling you. But you know what? That's the YouTube channel I want to hear. The elderly people talking about what their life was like growing up. I always loved that. When I was a kid, there was nothing I loved better than to hear my mama tell some of them stories about when she was young and growing up and how time had changed. Because, we were the fortunate ones compared to my granny growing up because we had stuff like school buses. She had to walk barefooted both ways uphill in the snow. Yeah, we know that. We know that, Dutchie. And y'all know, Michelle and Allie know. Old girl don't care to show up at somebody's house. Spare in their mouth at me. I'll show right up. Yeah, it does explain Dutchie's hand. Well, see, Michelle said true. She knows at the event. Just a second. But y'all, I know we started out with Permilla Warren. And then we went to what? Aaron Carter? Crystal says her R-rated E for everyone. Yeah. Rated E for everyone. Yep. I love you, Flies. That's hilarious. Yep, Flies. Gen X don't play. These internet fights are ridiculous. I ain't got time for that. See, I ain't got time for that either. I mean, these hands are for everyone. Yeah. I have no respected person. I'm only going to talk so long. Then I'm going to get tired talking. And that's the way it is with every aspect of my life. I'll talk so long. Then I'll do something like unplug the internet or life's too short. Let's meet and get it over with. Yeah, flies. That's how I am. That's how I am. You gonna run your mouth on me? Do it to my face. Look into my eyes and do it. And I walk over here, you're gonna limp back. Yeah, Dutch, I will. I will pull up on some people. Done it a couple times. Sure did. And I come by it honest. Because my mama was the same way. My mama didn't care who he was. If you run your mouth on her or her kids, she's showing up. My mama invented the word roll up. Only she was the one rolling up. You still be on the phone with her because that was back in the 10-foot cord days. You still be on the phone with her dropping. She'd be parked in your driveway. That you don't care who you are. She will break her hand on your head. Yeah, that's exactly right, Michelle. I don't know what I was thinking, but I got mad in less than 5 seconds and poof. Your mama too, but Dutchie. See, that's them Southern women, honey. That's them Southern women. And what I mean by that is, honey, let me tell you something. A Southern woman whoop your hind end with one hand and break beans with the other. Now, don't get me wrong. You got some carrots, too. But the most of us was raised on beans and cornbread. So, our mamas didn't need no, honey. My mama didn't need no Life 360, no Find My Phone or nothing. She was FBI. She pulled me out of the house one time in Lexington in 1998, and there was no cell phone. There was no Find My Phone. There was no anything. No Life 360, no way of tracking me, nothing. But honey, when I tell you she showed up in the middle of the night, knocking on the door, I knew it was my mama by her knock. I did. And if I'm being completely honest, I was at a police's office house. And if I'm being completely honest, she threatened him. She kicked his door in. It was my cousin's boyfriend. But she kicked his door in and then threatened his life. Sure did. I remember when my mama rode up at the school when one teacher pulled my sister around by the ear, and the kids said my sister didn't do anything. Let me tell you, people. Let me tell you how bad the school was around here. They wasn't calling my house. They was afraid my daddy was going to show up because there was an event where my brother was real young, and I think like first grade, something like that. He might have been in Miss Martin's room, if I'm being honest. And a boy hit him in the eye, right below the eye, with a pencil. He come home like that. Well, my daddy wasn't waiting for school to start the next morning. My daddy went to the principal's house. And his wife said, he's in the shower. And my dad said, oh, that's all right. I've seen people in the shower before. And pulled him out and whooped the tar out of him. So, no, They wouldn't call at my house. They'd send me home letters and tell me to get it signed. Just get this letter signed. They wasn't risking Daddy coming to the school. This is so much fun. Chatty, you know why? Because it's true. Yeah, that's the truth. My mama was tiny, but she was a firecracker. Everyone was afraid of her. Your mama's from my area. I probably know why. I go to school, your mama. Chatty, I love these live conversations. I do too. I'd way rather have a live conversation live than anything, if I'm being honest. I mean, without getting too personal, long cool woman, how long was it that your mom lived at Girdler? Was you raised up there too, or was it just your mom? She had 3 older siblings, but she rules the house. Yeah. Well, now I'm telling you. My brother was 8 years older than me. My older sister was 4 years older than me. And my younger sister was 8 years younger than me. Now, that one got away with a lot. But me and my older brother and sister, no. No. We'd have knockdown drag-outs and wouldn't tell on each other. My mama's favorite words was, if the right don't get you, the left will. And what that meant was, you youngins, I ain't got time to figure out who did this. Y'all getting in trouble. Every one of you. And another thing coming, this is the difference between us and nowadays kids. When I was growing up, all my mom had to say is, if you think I'm going to put up with that, then you've got another thing coming. And guess what? I didn't want to know what another thing coming actually was. I was just reading a conversation the newspaper wrote about my great-grandmother, who lived to be 170. Now she was a classy and sassy little woman. Oh, until age 12. No, I was raised in Detroit, but she went home quite often. I knew my mama and papa very well. Did you love the stories about your great grandma? I do too. How wonderful. 107. That's a long life. I'd love to. Yeah, I'd like to hear her stories. That was the parents' favorite pastime, keeping us in line any which way they could, and they did. Yeah, that's true. Flies. I'll have to read it on a live sometime. It's pretty interesting, the things that she told. I mean, just a second, and I'll show you something about my ancestors here. I think I've got it. Let me see. See if I do. I might not. I went through this quite extensively here. Let me see. Thought I might have had it. Maybe I don't. I might have it on that hard drive. Okay, that's not it. Just a second. Whoa. Come up here, little buddy. Okay. See if it's down here. Wow. And just like that. Okay. I've got a couple things in mind. Right here it is. Just a second. It's a long time ago, y'all. And I also want to say that I didn't know my papa. Okay. Here we go. Okay, this was my papa Abner. It says federal agent sees 4 Clay citizens in raid. Federal agent arrested 4 Clay citizens Sunday and charged them with possession of untaxed whiskey. The 4 were identified as Mr. and Mrs. Sam Blevins, Bill Crawford, and Floyd Abner. Floyd Abner of Woolham, Kentucky. They are among 22 persons arrested in the Clay and Knox area during the weekend. All persons were arraigned before U.S. Federal Commissioner Kelly Clore of Pineville. Floyd Abner was my pal. So that's my newspaper clipping. What have I missed here? Maybe here. I was the one who always fetched the water from the well. And I have many memories. That would be awesome. Long cool when I do miss getting water from my mom's well. That water was always It was. I remember. I wasn't allowed to fetch the water from the well because I was always little. My mama had a bad dream that I fell in the well. So I was a grown woman and I wasn't allowed around that well. But I did have to get it from the stream. And I learned the hard way the meaning of work smarter, not harder. I took my kids and my oldest granddaughter back there too. They got to run in those hills too. Our papa known for the shine. Yeah, my papa was known for the shine. He was. I'm not gonna lie, my daddy was too. Popcorn sitting had nothing on my daddy. Oh, they called it that. Old Mountain Dew, yeah. Even wrote a song about it. That good old Mountain Dew. And them that refused it. Yep. That's fine. This 100% applies Dutch for missing. Oh, yeah. And going to the outhouse and the cool dirt under your feet. I loved it. Yeah, and I'll tell you something else about them outhouses. You did your business before it got dark. They went. I was scared. Wasn't making that trip in the dark. I didn't like the outhouse too much. I didn't either. And even to this day, if I get around an outhouse, I look down in it, make sure there ain't a snake. I remember my mama and papa was high class. They had a double seater. Oh, if they had a double seater in a yeah, they was living big time. Our church didn't even have a double seater. In all reality, y'all, in an outhouse, what was the use of a double-seater? I always wondered that because surely one's not squatted while the other is right beside of them. Well, I'm going woman. I grew up in North Carolina, way out on the country on the farm. So many great memories. To with the land and a lot about. I always said I had the best of both worlds. I had the outlaws on one side and the churchgoers on the other. And my granny taught me about Jesus. Yes, baby, just a second. Y'all, I'm getting in trouble. What? What? Unlock that door. And tell mommy I'll be out in a minute. Mom, I'll play with you. Y'all, I've got Young and Colin, so I'm going to end this live because she's wanting to play with her mama. I love y'all. Remember, it takes zero effort to be a good human being. I'm being paged. I'm being paged right now. Love y'all. I'm coming.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.